So not sure what happened there, but I'll check with support or yeah. Anyway, welcome to Proof of Work.
Yeah, welcome to Proof of Work. I'm your host, Jerry V, aka the Crypto Oracle, the Oracle from Oregon. Nick is my co-host. We're going to thank our sponsors really quick. Quantum Expeditions. If you aren't familiar, they're doing Bitcoin mining out there in West Texas, utilizing methane flare. And I've been saying, and for many moons now, that this is the future, right, of energy. Not only will Bitcoin miners mine, they're going to become energy hogs, but eventually they become energy producers so that they can help create new energy products and balance the grid. And obviously, this is the future of energy and finance going forward. We also want to thank our sponsors from Shieldfolio. They basically have a seed phrase book that you have a special pen and you write the seed phrase in there. If anyone opens it up, they can't just read it. You have to have a UV light and it's waterproof. There is a fireproof one coming in the future, which I think is super fire, because I'm not about steel plates because that's a lot of work. There are a lot of steel plates out there that are amazing, but I'm a fan of this type of product because I'm a person who likes to write stuff down. So when that fireproof one comes out, I'm using the QR code immediately because I think that's the most important thing that you have to have in a little seed password. But this is amazing stuff. There are other companies out there, but they're the first one. And there's the QR code for the 20% off. Also want to thank Deorganized Media and the shows that are on Bitcoin Live and on Deorganized. Let's get started. So first things first, today's show is no, Bitcoin's not going to get hacked by quantum computing anytime soon. But before we get into that, let's just cover some of the stories that people are talking about on the webs. And when I say the webs, I talk about X, because X is the premier spot for crypto news and other tech news, in my opinion. Nick, I think, would agree with me on that one. And most of the people that follow Bitcoin and other stuff would agree as well. But let me pull up my bookmarks. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Hold on. I forgot to hit my share button. So literally, I think this is the one. Nope, it's the first one. Yesterday this happened. So basically, this documenting sailor posted this picture of Samson Mao and was like, Tom Lees is in the age of Bitcoin, having financial advisors like saying the McDonald's cashier is your nutritionist. And obviously Samson Mao was, kind of perturbed. But now there's like tons of like pictures of Samson Mao going around, and they're like, CZ, it says, and it's like Samson Mao. But anyway, I thought this was hilarious. And then today, if you didn't hear, he took a picture of himself and he just flipped it on its head, and he's like, yes, as is Lee, I am divesting out of all of my Ethereum. And again, I just thought that was hilarious, because only Samson Mao would probably just get offended for like a nanosecond and be like, oh, this is awesome, I will use this to my advantage. And he totally did. And other BTC news, let's see, there was, so I follow Vivek. He's a little dramatic, but he's like, why is this happening, right? So a lot of people can't figure out here, and let's just take a look at it. And I did post up a tweet from about 6 to 8 weeks ago. I can't find it now because it's so far deep back. About, don't be surprised if we get to this like, choppy, violent area, like we're getting to super turbulence. And this is what we're seeing right here. You can see with this wick that it's sub 85K, right? That big red wick is like, wow. I'm just happy it doesn't, it at the top of this red wick, we don't have another big, or at the top of this red candle, we don't have another big red wick, because that would be very bad. The good news is if you see just a couple candles back, this huge green spinning doji, that's a good indicator that Bitcoin is, there's a lot of pressure to the downside, but this is a good sign that Bitcoin's going to recover at some point in the near future, very violently, in my opinion.
Like 2 shows ago. Oh, by the way, there's an echo on your end when I speak. But
it is. You just got laggy there. What was it again?
Like 2 or 3 shows ago, you also mentioned like they're trading the leverage, right? So basically, everybody who's getting leverage in the game and who's not a professional trader, get out of the way because they're
that was like, stop doing that. And again, there's still people doing it because there's all this downward pressure. For the longest time, we showed it, using CoinGlass's reference page, which is a really good tool if you're really into crypto. I highly recommend CoinGlass's. They have corrected some of the things I've pointed out to them, and I'm like, I give them a thumbs up, because if they're taking feedback, that means they're willing to admit they made boo-boos, and that means I trust you more, right? Yeah. But anyway, we pointed that out, showing that IBIT was getting dumped on IBIT, and some of the other ETFs were selling, but mainly it was coming from the IBIT ETF. And that was creating a lot of the downward pressure. And now we have multiple confirmations with cryptographic transactions at Coinbase, Binance, all the major centralized exchanges are buying these mega dips. And that's what's forming these huge wicks, right? They've got all these huge orders set at those wicks. And then when it goes back up to 90,000, they are covering that spread and they are making money off the spread. We know that this can be done. If you've been in Bitcoin for a while, we all know this magic, like Unislide, if you want to call it. If you have a lot of money, you can do this. But you have to have really good algorithmic trading and a lot of capital to do this. And now we can see this has been done multiple times with Binance, Coinbase, Deribit, all these big exchanges doing the same trick. And they're just, what are they doing? They're stacking Tether and USDC on the side, right? Like we all know that this is what's going on. And at the same time, they're doing 2 things, right? They're protecting the ETF, so more people can get in on the ETF, because the ETF is going to go like this. When Bitcoin's going down, there's all this downward pressure on the ETF, right? And at the same time, PNC, SoFi just announced today, I think I have that in my bookmarks, I'll pull that up in a second. Spot Bitcoin and crypto. Oh my gosh, what, the banks are going to start offering crypto? No one's predicted this. Yeah, we did on the show many times. And what do we say? If you're going to buy on their exchange, they're basically going to use it like an API with Coinbase. I said that's what they're going to do, and that's exactly what they're doing, right?
By the way, I got a really funny clip. Can I play
it? Go ahead, pull it up.
Because it will sort of capture the mood with a lot of investors.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win so much.
Even though that's hilarious, if you didn't hear what he just did, he just signed that nationwide cannabis legislation. So that's a big deal, especially for people like me who live in pain every day, right? I'm in pain 24/7 usually, whether it's periodically or it's all day or it's, here and there. Like my new one is my left foot feels like somebody's like putting a nail through it. And
wow.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And it's only like maybe 5 or 10 minutes at a pop. But now I've been getting it like right in here, and it's like, oh, that's so wonderful. But that's like good news for all the cannabis companies. But yeah, again, this is true. This is very true. But this is all what I've been saying is there's only a couple banks offering these products right now. The majority of these banks, the major banks, P. Morgan's, Morgan Stanley, etc. Pardon me. They're going to start offering these products Q1 and Q2 of 2026. So if it's all high pie in the sky, all of that liquidity that they want to come into their coffers does not happen, right? When everything's at an all-time high, right? They want people to be excited for these new products because they are at low prices, and they know that their retail customers won't be excited for that, but their bigger customers are excited for that, right? And that's what I've been saying. We played that clip from the CEO of HSBC, and she was very clear, right? And that's what led to my whole speculation that this is all the 1%ers want a part of this new system, right? Because they have always, like, the one thing I learned from Robert Kiyosaki, right? And go read his book. If you haven't read his book, it's a very good book. I think you have. Yeah, I have. Really, most anybody who's got into like studying money has read that book. But the one thing you learn from that book is, and I still fiat mine because, you know, it's the way to earn money, right? Like, duh. But the one thing he says is like, rich people, poor people work for money. Rich people make money work for them, right? So if you're not figuring out how to take some of your capital that you mine for fiat and put it into Bitcoin and Litecoin and these really scarce assets, you're going to lose because inflation is going to go skyrocketing at some point, and you need to have assets that will move with that inflation. And you know, gold right now is doing good, but I'm thinking we're seeing peak gold, right? It's already come down and gone back up. We have the double top forming, people, right? Let's be very, very clear.
And silver, it's interesting, right? Because silver, you know, go on. Sorry, I should, because you were just going to talk about silver.
Yeah, I was going to say silver at the same time is having its all-time highs for a long time as well. So, I mean, I encourage people to get into those assets, but not at these prices. Maybe silver hasn't topped out just yet, but I wouldn't be buying gold at $4,300 an ounce. I'd be looking at 4K, maybe 3,900. You know, if you're good at charting, look where those fib lines are, see if there's any massive red, you know, like we were just looking at those massive red wicks, see if there's any of those on the chart. If there are, it may retest those zones, and that's where you want to be looking to invest, right, and put your money. And that's full circle back to what's happening right now in crypto, right? They're keeping these prices very nominal for the 1%ers to be drooling for Bitcoin, drooling for Ethereum, drooling for Litecoin, Solana, all these ones that had the ETFs cleared. And the same thing I want to point out is it took several months for the ETFs to suck up all this capital before we saw Bitcoin take off. And the same thing we're seeing with all these new ETFs for Solana, Litecoin, XRP, etc. It's going to take several months before they suck up all this capital, and it affects the spot price as well. And I think that's where we're at. We're in this like volatile, like turbulent time on the plane where the plane's not going to land. I'm saying that's just my own personal opinion. We can pull up. Here's a few other huge metrics that I always like to point out. If these networks aren't being used, the hash rate goes down, right? And here's Bitcoin's hash rate. It's right now sitting right at a zettahash. And I was the only, let's remind everyone out there, only analyst to say it's going to break a zettahash within the next year, and it did it exactly in 1 year, like I called. And it's hovering at a zettahash. It's not going like, phew. That's what we would be seeing if nobody's using the Bitcoin network. More and more people are hooking up to the network to mine. And one of the things I found out, if you looked at my tweets, I found a new business opportunity, right? Like solar farms can be hacked, right? And I'm gonna create a business that can prevent that, right? Like, so we're gonna start with solar farms, and then we're gonna move to wind farms, and it's a multi-bazillion-dollar industry. Anyway,
quantum economics actually had Daniel Batten on, right, on Monday, which was a really awesome interview that they did on their Spaces. And,
oh yeah, you've pointed him out. I follow him now like thoroughly because me and him like are on like that same wavelength, that all of the energy, that's why I'm creating like a Bitcoin company, right? Let's be very clear. All of the capital in the world is shifting to Bitcoin, and eventually Litecoin is the backup network, because at some point Bitcoin's going to become very, like, a couple Satoshis is like going to buy stuff, right? Let's be very, very clear.
Steve asked, when cold fusion?
Oh, cold fusion. I mean, I have to agree with Elon on this point, right? We have the best, fusion reactor in the solar system. It's the sun, and it kicks off so much energy. Now that we have Bitcoin, solar and wind becomes 1,000 times more powerful, right? We don't have these huge dips in their power to cost generation, right? Like where they get to fall, like, right, TEPCO loses money when they get to fall or they get to spring. No one, you have their windows open in Tokyo, right? It's beautiful out. They nobody needs heat, nobody needs air conditioning for like several months. And these solar wind farms, wherever they are in the world, they're generating tons of surplus energy, and they're not selling it. So eventually, if the project isn't large enough to capitalize on all of the losses, they get into this huge deficit, and eventually that solar farm or wind farm goes out of business if they don't have subsidies and they don't have the correct thing. Now they strap Bitcoin miners on there, and TEPCO is like, oh my gosh, we're making money all the time. Yes.
I always wondered with the whole solar and green energy movement from the very start, because it sort of started a little bit, but just around the same time as Bitcoin started. Was it always the plan to sort of hook up Bitcoin miners along the way, like later on, to make them profitable and to turn this whole investment into a profit generating industry, right? Because and the same thing I just want to say, when you were talking about silver and gold, right? One of the reasons I believe that silver is peaking or going, vertical, is also because there's so much demand, with AI, robotics, but also with solar and, all these sort of industries and technologies that need silver. I just didn't expect it would happen so soon. I would, I was expecting it would be like a couple of years off. But apparently, there's so much demand in the market that, silver can't keep up, and the new mines have to be opened, and, that takes time to generate. But basically, if silver is already, hitting sort of peak demand, then gold, is next, right? I mean, gold then also has to become an industrial metal. I thought it was like a couple of years off, but if silver is already doing this, gold has to.
I mean, I get it, because those two assets, if you're in scenarios where, we do have broadband downtime, major downtime, those assets become very useful. But the thing that people have to understand is that even if Bitcoin is, you own Bitcoin, you can transmit it using, ham radios. And it does take an application. You would have to have a generator. You would have to know what you're doing. But now it's like not mega complicated. It is complicated, but it's not like super duper complicated like it used to be like 5 to 10 years ago. But this is the one thing I want, the doomsday people to understand. Like, Bitcoin is prepper money, right? Like it's right. It's the ultimate hard money, and that's why I when people say you can't touch it, yeah, well, guess what? That makes it super powerful too, right? You can't burn Bitcoin, you can't smelt it down, you can't fake Bitcoin, right? Like, we saw all those tweets where we've been talking about fake gold for months, and there we showed that clip of CZ's like, is it real?
Yeah.
Is it real gold? To Peter Schiff, he's like, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. You need another third party to tell you if it's real gold, right?
Yeah, and then for me, so was sort of, you know, you also have like the famous one from Michael Saylor that Bitcoin is nuclear proof. Like if there's like a nuclear attack, you know, Bitcoin will still run. And then the other thing is like if you actually look at these sort of refurbished nuclear bunkers that have been, you know, they've been building those for like 20 plus years now in New Zealand and all over the world, where they sort of refurbish these ex-nuclear silos into, you know, bunkers and luxury spaces. They always have a Bitcoin miner that's sort of included in the setup, right? So
yeah.
I think that says enough, right?
Yeah, that's again like like I don't know how to impress this upon people. Like I've been saying this one for a couple of years too. It's like if you're starting a business, why would you not get another $20,000 and get a BTC ASIC miner or an LTC Doge miner, right? You're going to make money. Those are literally, when people like laugh when I talk about Litecoin or Dogecoin, those are the three most profitable mining coins in the world. They're all proof of work. Let me remind you, right? Proof of work, proof of work, proof of work. The three most profitable. More profitable than the proof of stakes. Are people paying attention? Like this is like the numbers that I need people to understand. And when people like fight me on Litecoin, it's like because people use Litecoin, they buy and sell stuff with every day. That's why the price has been like sitting like right around $100 for like ever. It won't become like $1,000 until people realize like just like Bitcoin, it will become a powerful cryptographic protocol, right? Like it's just starting to, like, if you, the money that you don't see is the most amazing part of Litecoin, right? All of the money that's going into Litecoin protocol and then being sent to the MWeb, that's off the charts. Most of the exchanges don't track that money, right? It's now become a private layer, right? Where all of those transactions are supposed to be obfuscated. So it's just like me. If you had let's say there's like 10 different Litecoin while I do this now. Let's just say you had the latest I forget what is it, Nexon, or I forget what I have like a couple of them, but you had one that had MWeb built into it. I really send you MWeb dollars to, just like giving you $10, boom, boom, and nobody's the wiser. Do you see how powerful that is? It's like, what? Whoa, yeah. And that's why Monero has been pumping and Zcash is pumping, because people don't, you know, who really understand privacy don't want their data out there at all, right? Like, because we all know if you do have UTXOs out there, those can be put into the block explorer, right? Like if it's a transactional hash ID, that you can take that, put it in the block explorer, and you can see what's in there, right? Like that's just, and the same thing with Etherscan. You can take that public address and boop, put it in the Etherscan, bloop, there's all that info, right?
Actually, Checkmatey, who is you know, really smart dude. I think he's kind of like a Bitcoin maxi by now, but he did a couple of recent interviews, and in one of those, or a couple of those, he sort of mentioned that he doesn't believe in the utility or in the use case of any altcoins. And when he was asked about privacy coins, or, you know, like what happened with Zcash and that kind of stuff, he said, yeah, it's kind of useless because, you know, at the end of the day, you have to sort of go to an exchange to sell it, and then you have KYC AML. But I think he's sort of missing the point here, right? Because you can also just send it peer to peer, right? If you appreciate Zcash or Monero or whatever, and I want something from you, I can just send you the Zcash or the Monero and buy the thing that I want from you, or vice versa, right? So you don't really have to.
And I was just I'm going to go meet up with my buddy who owns that food cart to hopefully show him how to turn on Bitcoin payments through Square, and it's 0 fees for the first year. And remember, anybody doing this that's watching the show, right? Like, after that first year, you could just get your own Lightning wallet and just do transactions peer to peer. Because even though Jack is probably only going to take 0.001%, the wallet is always going to take a sliver, you know, so you might as well just use the wallet and not get 2 slivers taken out, right? Like, that's just my opinion. I know Square probably doesn't want me to tell people that, but you know, you can do that. You can subvert the system, even though they're making it very user friendly, very easy, and it's going to be 0 fees for the first year. Again, we don't know how much he wants to take in the future, and again, he's just, like I said, he's created these huge Bitcoin funnels because you think Saylor had a lot of Bitcoin. Jack Dorsey's going to have a ton of Bitcoin in the next 10 years, right?
Oh, I hope so. You know, he's my, you know, from all the CEOs out there, tech CEOs, big tech CEOs, he's, you know, I guess my favorite.
Yeah, he's my new favorite as well, because he's literally gets it. He gets Bitcoin. He's building miners, built, you know, Cash App, Square, all this stuff that's just like making Bitcoin an everyday product. That's why when I came up with this idea the other day, I'm like, of course it has to be Bitcoin, because all the energy companies are switching to Bitcoin. And another reason people are like, oh, if they're buying up all this Bitcoin, why is it's still, you know, staying suppressed? Because there's still the bears out there that have some Bitcoin that want to gamble with it. And it comes into the exchange, and the exchange takes it and it's like, thank you for your Bitcoin. And then they sell some of it and keep some of it, right? Like
you also still have these OG wallets that are, I think, also still selling some of it, right? And those OG
that's
wallets,
happening too.
Yeah,
it's not as like more as common as you would think it is, because if you held for this long, you're not a dummy, right? You've seen it go up 100x like many times, and if you've held for 10 years, like and you're only like 30 something, you're like, I can hold for another 10 years.
Yeah,
no problem.
And just realize that, like, how many Bitcoin has already been mined? Like 90% of the Bitcoin has already been mined, something like that. So those OG wallets hold tremendous amounts of Bitcoin. Like, you know,
that's another thing. Yeah, like they start 20,000 Bitcoin, 100,000 Bitcoin, that you don't even know that they exist, right? Like, but the same thing is, as the price goes up higher and higher, they can just sell off a fraction of their position, and it doesn't hurt their position at all. And that's what they understand. That's what they understand, right? That's what the really smart people understand. That's what the OG hodlers, whether you have a couple $1,000 worth of Bitcoin or you've got, you know, 100,000 Bitcoin, why would I sell it at a low? I'm always gonna, if I spend, it's usually always on a peak, because it's less Satoshis, right? Like, and that's the future, right? Like,
but Gerald, I got my sort of Christmas sweater on, right? So are we getting a Christmas rally this year, or is it just, you know, more pain and suffering?
I think it is, because, you know, the traditional markets will shut down, and they always do, for like 7 days. And if it's Coinbase and the like, and these big banks, it's not like just, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They take off from that, and it might even be Monday, because it's like, oh, it's Monday, might as well just start traveling then. You know, I don't know, because I don't work for Goldman Sachs or Coinbase, but I know they take from then, like, let's just say Wednesday, but some people will be Monday if they have jets. I'm sure it's Monday. But it's Wednesday, then through the holiday, right? And then guess what's next week? Oh, that's New Year's. So they don't go back to work until like the Monday after New Year's, right? Like, that's like almost 2 weeks.
But are you then saying, like, if you get a gigantic rally in that period?
Of course, because the only retail at that point is scooping up, right? Like that. It's not the big, like, market makers out there anymore. It's people at home that are like looking at the charts and are like, oh, I got a couple $100 extra for Christmas, I'm gonna buy some corn, right? Like, duh, like, that's what I'm gonna do. I got a little teeny bonus for my fiat mining job, which is actually one of the nicest bonuses I ever got, but it was only like $50, but whatever. that's going straight to either Litecoin or Bitcoin, right? It's like a no-brainer. It's like,
But I was actually talking to my physio today, because I'm seeing a physio and he's also into crypto, and we were sort of talking about the economy, and the Federal Reserve. Now the jobs numbers are looking pretty bad, right? There's more employment than unemployment than they thought, and the inflation is actually dropping, or at least rising less fast than they thought. So there's like disinflation going on. So these are like sort of the ideal conditions for dropping rates and also to start QE. But historically, when they start QE, the Federal Reserve is always late to the party. Then generally a recession already happened or is about to happen. And then sort of the QE, after the QE happens, you actually have it takes like months before the QE actually kicks in, and and it has an effect on the market. So and of course you also got midterm elections next year, I think around November, and Trump is not really looking so good in the polls at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. So, and that creates uncertainty with big players and institutions. Like, is Trump gonna hang on, or is the Congress or Senate gonna be taken over, and are the rules gonna be changed? So on the one hand, you had like people, the Security and Exchange Commission chairman, like Paul Atkins, who's like for deregulation and saying like everything will run on crypto within 2 years. So and all the regulation and the big banks getting ready, and so that you got all the positivity over here, but then you have this sort of uncertainty, midterm election, dark clouds hanging over there. Like so, and then the QE thing is.
Yeah, that's all tied into the Clarity Act, right? So I think that's also plays into why we're seeing all these big exchanges make all the money off the spread, is because they know they can get away with it right now. Also,
and it's delayed till end of January, right? The Clarity Act is.
They don't know. They thought it was going to be passed possibly by the end of the year. Then they said no. Then you never know. Sometimes they come out of nowhere and they get in a special session out of nowhere, and it could get passed on like New Year's Day sometimes. But they're looking like first quarter. But the exchanges, like one of the big clauses of that Clarity Act that I read was that they can't do any of this, these shenanigans anymore, right? Like all this front running, all this stuff they're doing right now with making all these huge orders on the spread. I don't know if those would be canceled out 100%, because in the future, I don't think they would be as apt to do it if Bitcoin is like heading in one direction or the other, right? If they know it's tight range like this and they can make money off this, like doing this straddle, that's not going to happen every time. But again, the Clarity Act clearly states that like all these front running, all this stuff is going to be like done away with, where they can buy a huge like position of like bonk and keep buying it up, make the price go up, get people excited about this S coin, and then dump on them and make money on that as well. And that's what they've been doing over the last like 10 months, right? Like all of that downward pressure that people don't realize is most of the decentralized exchanges buying these S coins back, pumping price, liquidating their positions back into Bitcoin or Tether, and then you're sitting there holding your bags. And that's why I tell people, like, if you're a hodler like I am, you better be into like things that have small supplies, not these 100 trillion supplies, because you're never going to see your coin ever move again when this capital comes flowing back, because it's just too big of a supply, right? There's this too huge of a supply when it's like 100 trillion, 400 or 10 quadrillion. I'm like, what? Why would I buy this? It makes zero sense.
Actually, Lynn Alden also did some really cool podcasts and interviews lately, and one of the things that she sort of noticed or said was like that utility coins that are sort of pushed so hard, like utility coins. She said like, okay, but when you look at utility, and for example like Ethereum or XRP or something, these coins or these projects are actually valued way too high compared to existing rails who are already, you know, moving around trillions of dollars in money, right? So if you compare the market cap of, for example, Ethereum to existing rails that are doing basically the same thing, then Ethereum compared to those, you know, like the CME or whatever, is way overvalued in her opinion. I haven't read her article yet, but it might be worth reading. And then I think you also mentioned, like, for example, with XRP, right? You don't want one XRP to become too expensive because of the high velocity that you want on XRP, right? So if everybody wants to move derivatives around or you know, real world assets or whatever, you want it will have like a high velocity, right? A high high volumes will be moved continuously. So one XRP has to rise in price, but not too much, right? Because then it becomes sort of dysfunctional, and which is different from Bitcoin, right? Because it's basically a store of value first and foremost.
Again, I agree with a lot of what you said. People have to realize that the main reason why even though some of these projects are going to earn people money, right? I always say that, like, as a disclaimer. I'm not telling you how to invest your money. What I'm telling you is what I see and the problems, analysts that come up. And as somebody who's tested like dozens and dozens of different blockchain wallets, right? I have a Helium node running right behind me right here, right? Like, so I tell people I know a lot more about this stuff than some people give me credit for, and other people they just don't know. But I know a lot about this stuff because I play around with it, right? I'm always exploring, I'm always testing stuff out. And yes, there is a lot of money heading for Solana. Yes, there's a lot of money heading for Ethereum and XRP. But all of those blockchains have had interruptions, right? That's just facts, right? This is just historical data facts. XRP probably being the least problematic out of the three, Solana probably being the most problematic, and Ethereum kind of falling in the middle. But I tell people, as Ethereum keeps making these updates, right, just like Google and Apple does every other day, it seems like, we create another layer of code, another layer of code, another layer of code, patch, code. And you're getting so far away from the base code that's when glitches happen, right? That's where people like me find bugs, right?
Yep.
And then that's why I started to learn more about code, because I'm wanted to be like, oh, can I fix this, or can I build something? And eventually it's like, yes, you can. I've built web pages and little teeny things. Now I want to build stuff that the world needs, right? Obviously, that's got to be a Bitcoin application, and it's got to be a good one. But anyway, all of these markets, right, eventually will come to proof of work systems, right? Because, like I said, all of these other networks can be gamed or have problems, like with the update syndrome. That's Ethereum's problem, right? You go back to your wallet or that smart contract, and it can be broken, right? Like, it just doesn't work anable. It just stopped functioning. Had that happen many times with Ethereum tokens.
I agree with you, of course, but I want to ask you a question, right? Because you are a believer in proof of work, and I'm a believer too. And of course, we're also going to talk about quantum resistance, but there are also other proof of work coins out there, like, Digibyte, Decred, Zcash. What is your view actually on those others? And do you think they will never get a niche market or grow, or how do you actually view those other projects?
So I think Monero out of Decred, because Decred seems to be more developer minded, right? They understand the importance of the Lightning Network. They understand the importance of why Litecoin's important. That's why they added it into their repertoire of coins that they can work with. and they understand privacy, right? And
Yep.
again, anything that talks about privacy, I think, is important. I think Zcash is just Bitcoiners putting some of their money into something that, like we said, you can do. It is just like a switch. Then it's peer-to-peer private, but Monero is every transaction is obfuscated through the massive amount of hash data that goes through in those transactions, right? I think it's called RSA signatures, ring signatures, or something like that, to be 100% precise. But that's where I think a lot of money goes into Litecoin and Monero, because people are going to understand why it is important to have your blockchain data private. And again, yes, there are other blockchains out there like Digibyte. I used to be a fan of Digibyte until I learned more about technology, and I don't want to dig on Digibyte too much. But that's why I just stopped becoming a huge fan. But the main reason is I go with metrics, right? Like we were just talking about, like if you go to these sites that tell you like the profitable chains, it's Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin. Pretty much it goes from the SHA-256 protocol, which is mainly Bitcoin, and then Script, and then it's like Litecoin, Dogecoin. Some people make money on Bell's coin. But
Ravencoin for RWA.
What's that?
Ravencoin.
Oh yeah, and I am still a holder of Ravencoin because it is proof of work, right? And I do think eventually that when people want to do what the initial what is it called? I just had a brain fart. NFT on Bitcoin.
Ordinals.
Ordinal, thank you. Like those are the things that should be built on, if you're going to build an ordinal on Bitcoin, it should be RWA related, or an annuity, or some type of like bond product, right? We've talked about this before. That's what I think is cool if you're going to use a lot of data on Bitcoin. If you're going to build something like that, cool. But you can do that on Ravencoin, and it's very easy to do, right? It's a few clicks, and you can do RWAs on Ravencoin. We showed it on the show, right? It's like click, 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 look. Oh, wow, I just made a real estate property into a token with like 5 clicks. There's not all these, gas fees. It's not super complicated like Ethereum, right? And it uses a totally different, I think it's X16 algorithm, if I'm not mistaken. Double check my math on that. I should say double check my computer architecture engineering on that one. But
I think I think we should now switch to quantum, because otherwise.
I know we have tailed way off into the distance. I totally forgot. We haven't got.
Maybe we should do a show on different crypto projects, like just dedicated to some.
Again,
some
we are going to talk about other ones for sure. Let's get back to the shows about. Yeah. Let's get into how powerful SHA-256 bit encryption really is. Okay, this guy made this video, I think, like, I want to say like, oh, there it is, 8 years ago, doing a breakdown of how powerful it is, and it's one of my favorite videos. I highly recommend following him. He's got tons of followers now. But if you aren't familiar with 3-1 Brown, here you go.
In the main video on cryptocurrencies, I made 2 references to situations where, in order to break a given piece of security, you would have to guess a specific string of 256 bits. One of these was in the context of digital signatures, and the other in the context of a cryptographic hash function. For example, if you want to find a message whose SHA-256 hash is some specific string of 256 bits, you have no better method than to just guess and check random messages. And this would require, on average, 2 to the 256 guesses. Now, this is a number so far removed from anything that we ever deal with that it can be hard to appreciate its size. but let's give it a try. 2 to the 256 is the same as 2 to the 32 multiplied by itself 8 times. Now what's nice about that split is that 2 to the 32 is 4 billion, which is at least a number we can think about, right? It's the kind of thing you might see in a headline. So all we need to do is appreciate what multiplying 4 billion times itself 8 successive times really feels like. As many of you know, the GPU on your computer can let you run a whole bunch of computations in parallel incredibly quickly.
Now,
so if you were to specially program a GPU to run a cryptographic hash function over and over, a really good one might be able to do a little less than 1 billion hashes per second. And let's say that you just take a bunch of those and cram your computer full of extra GPUs so that your computer can run 4 billion hashes per second. So the first 4 billion here is going to represent the number of hashes per second per computer. Now, picture 4 billion of these GPU-packed computers. For comparison, even though Google does not at all make their number of servers public, estimates have it somewhere in the single-digit millions. In reality, most of those servers are going to be much less powerful than our imagined GPU-packed machine. But let's say that Google replaced all of its millions of servers with a machine like this, then 4 billion machines would mean about 1,000 copies of this souped-up Google. Let's call that 1 kilogoogle worth of computing power. There's about 7.3 billion people on Earth. So next, imagine giving a little over half of every individual on Earth their own personal kilogoogle. Now, imagine 4 billion copies of this Earth.
Yeah, 4 billion
For comparison, the Milky Way has somewhere between 100 and 400 billion stars. We don't really know, but the estimates tend to be in that range. So this would be akin to a full 1% of every star in the galaxy having a copy of Earth, where half the people on that Earth have their own personal kilogoogle.
Yeah, okay.
Next, try to imagine 4 billion copies of the Milky Way. And we're going to call this your gigagalactic supercomputer, running about 2 to the 160 guesses every second. Now, 4 billion seconds, that's about 126.8 years. 4 billion of those, well, that's 507 billion years, which is about 37 times the age of the universe. So even if you were to have your GPU-packed kilogoogle per person multiplanetary gigagalactic computer guessing numbers for 37 times the age of the universe, it would still only have a 1 in 4 billion chance of finding the correct guess. By the way, the state of Bitcoin hashing these days is that all of the miners put together guess a rate of about 5 billion hashes per second. That corresponds to 1/3 of what I just described as a kilogoogle. This is not because there are actually billions of GPU-packed machines out there, but because miners actually use something that's about 1,000 times better than a GPU. Application-specific integrated circuits. These are pieces of hardware specifically designed for Bitcoin mining, for running a bunch of SHA-256 hashes, and nothing else. Turns out, there's a lot of efficiency gains to be had when you throw out the need for general computation and design your integrated circuits for one and only one task. Also, on the topic of large powers of 2 that I personally find it hard to get my mind around, this channel recently surpassed 2 to the 18th subscribers. And to engage a little more with some sub-portion of those 2 to the 18 people, I'm going to do a Q&A session. I've left a link in the description to a Reddit thread where you can post questions and upvote.
So that video is 8 years old. So him saying how much the hash rate was is like literally, it's way, 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 way higher even that now, right? So when people say, oh, it can be hacked. No, Bitcoin cannot be hacked. That's step one. Let's get to super quantum computers. Yes. Hey, let's get to the best quantum processor. I pulled up the article. This is the best one in the world, okay? Quantum record smash as scientists build mammoth 6,000 qubit system, right? That's amazing.
Works at room temperature.
Yes, the room temperature is the most fascinating part because of quantum, all of the other quantum computers that exist in the world at the moment run it like negative 273 Kelvin. Okay. So
they always claimed it was impossible with room temperature quantum computers.
Yeah.
And actually,
I never said that was not possible. I've never claimed that.
No.
My claims are based on numbers, right?
Just
tell people. Go ahead.
Can I do a side note? Okay, just as a side note for the conspiracy nuts out there.
Yeah.
Ashton Forbes, he does the alternative version of what happened to MH370, which I actually believe in.
Yep.
But on that plane, there were like a lot of scientists who were specialized in room temperature quantum computing who sort of disappeared with the plane.
Well, I didn't hear the last part. I'm sorry.
Oh, the MH370 plane that disappeared, it had sort of like a whole group of people, like scientists who were focused on room temperature semiconductivity, who were sort of specialized.
Oh, yeah. Again, they're the whole, all of these sectors of science are about to explode, right? We all know that they exist, right? We all know that there's people utilizing them, whether they're here or other. Because just look to your sky, right? My buddy the other day said he looked up and he saw this thing like, and then he went inside, tell his family, they're like, you're nuts. They went outside, they're like, yeah. So again, there's tons of technology. Yeah, and again, there's also been documented, right? Like if you watch Skinwalker Ranch, right? Like these guys, the one guy's a NASA physicist, right? Like, yep. So I tell people, like, he's documented this kind of stuff. Like, we've seen this object going through into like a wormhole and disappear, right? And it's like, where did it go? So this kind of stuff exists. But let's get back to quantum processing. We're kind of getting off on a tangent.
Right.
That's the best quantum processor, right? So let's get to the other part. Let me see if I have it up here. This is first actual quantum computer in like the world that's like available to use like full time. Okay. Here it is. It's the first IQM quantum computer in Italy. It's in Turin. But it is, where is it? I think it's 5 qubits. If I'm not mistaken, I can't find the line right now. Oh yeah, but here's where it runs at. Oh yeah, negative 273. Right? Yeah, I don't see where it says. So here it just says it's just breaking down the difference between normal bits and qubits. Oh yeah, there it is. The 5 qubit quantum computer available to the world of research, industry, and academia, acquired thanks to a partnership between Politecnico di Torino, Links Foundation as an instrumental entity of the Compagnia di San Paolo Foundation. So basically, this is the Polytechnic Institute of Torino. That's my loose translation, if I'm not mistaken. Blue will go on outside later, buddy. Relax for just a little bit longer. But this is only a 5-bit processor, right? And it has to run at negative 273. I have another tab pulled up over here. And this is the one I want people to understand. Average runtime of average quantum processors. So let's see. Here's Blue. Lay down, please. He does this thing where he'll lay his in your lap, and he just like breathes like heavy. Did you hear it?
No. But and then
it's almost like it's like somebody like weaning the phone, and it's like creepy. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Stop that. But he does it when he wants attention sometimes, and it's like it's so weird. But anyway, sorry, Blue. I had to drop the dime on your weirdness. I still love you. The average runtime, right, for superconducting qubits, these typically have a decoherence times of about 50 microseconds to several milliseconds. This limits their effective runtime. Yeah, no crap. So let's get down here where it's like some of the better ones. They're like, oh, it's like here it is, a few microseconds to a few seconds, depending on the processing requirements and qubit type. The actual computing window before errors become significant can range from microseconds to milliseconds. Are you all seeing what I'm reading here? I'm not worried about the blockchain being rolled back anytime soon when these are the standard runtimes for that computer that we're talking about, right? The one that they built can run for about, I think, 1 to 2 minutes. I think on a good day can run like 15 minutes. It's like, I'm still not worried. However, I have done research, and different AI models I used. One AI model said it will take a processor of at least 10 million to 100 million qubits, right? A couple models said somewhere between 100,000 and up, and then there was like one model that said like 10,000 qubits, and that was the model I could not believe, just because we just saw the video on how strong is 256-bit encryption. Oh, it's like super mega fortress strong, right? That's what I'm trying to convey to people. It is the most strong hashing algorithm next to SHA-3. And that's what will happen when they get closer, right? Once they get close, the miners will say, we're going to switch to SHA-3. And then once it gets to 51% consensus, they will all upgrade to SHA-3 hashing. And at that point, oh, no more quantum problem ever again. You can all sit down. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, the same technology that can be used to attack it can also be used to adopt and defend
exactly.
it. Right? So,
that's exactly what will happen.
That's the thing that people sort of miss. Like, you know, you can use these things to attack Bitcoin, but like, why would you do it? Because like you always say, there's much more juicier targets out there anyway. And then free, you know, if everybody's sort of invested in Bitcoin anyway, then you would use that same technology to defend it and not, you know, attack it. I mean, Michael Howell sort of pointed out that because China and the BRICS are moving onto a sort of gold-backed unit cryptocurrency system, that, you know, and China is very much invested in energy and in quantum, and maybe ahead of America, perhaps also with AI. I don't know, but they're head-to-head. That you know, China might use quantum and AI to attack Bitcoin because they want gold to succeed.
Oh yeah, they want to pump the price of gold. I mean, it's not a
great
outlandish theory. Yeah, it's not a super outlandish theory, but at the same time, you know, and there is a probability that they skip right over it. And you know, there's already scientists, because you know, as this is becoming a bigger, hotter topic, I've been, you know, even though I tell people I'm not an expert in, you know, quantum computers or anything like that. I'm just a technology researcher, and that's what I do. When I dig into a topic, I have to just eat. And the one article that I did read is that, you know, there is a couple of cryptographers out there that are working on quantum cryptography. So we might leapfrog right around SHA-3, and Bitcoin might get some type of, you know, and I said, this is actually one of my predictions from a couple of years ago. Why can't we just get to quantum cryptography, right? And this guy's building what I kind of put out into the universe. And they haven't perfected it yet, but once quantum cryptography comes around, wow, like it's like, I think Bitcoin becomes like impervious to all types of attacks at that point, and it's like super impervious to anything. Like, but
okay, let's say you can't attack the chain or roll back the chain, right? That's what we're talking about. But what about individual wallets? Right, because the organized media just raised the point, like, won't everyone have to move their funds to a new quantum-resistant wallet? You know, like on the individual level, like how safe are the people, you know, having their Bitcoin in self-custody on their cold wallet or hot wallet or wherever they want to keep it. How safe is that with quantum computing and maybe even with AI?
I always tell people, just like we've discussed this on the show, just with the tools that are out there and a good AI model, right? A good, not just a language model, it has to be language / like action model, but just with a couple of cyber attack tools and AI, you can destroy most of the banking sector right now. So if quantum computers can run for hours and hours in the future, the first things that will be attacked would be the things that have like almost zero cybersecurity, and that's most of the bank accounts in the world, most of the equity markets in the world. Even though the equities markets and the bond markets have way better encryption than your average bank account, they don't have, they're not built on 256 SHA cryptography, right? Elliptic curve cryptography. Like that's what makes Bitcoin totally different. Is from the foundation up and not strapped on top, right? Which is, like there's a new Chase commercial go out with encryption technology. I'm like, yeah. What does that BS mean? It's nothing. It's fancy marketing, but BS. That's what it is. Your Bitcoin address in and of itself, that hexadecimal address, as we just proved, is a bazillion times more secure than your bank account is right now, even if there was a super quantum processor that existed, right? Your bank account would be drained in seconds, right?
And then of course also, I mean, what most big whales or smart people do is they don't put it all in one basket, right? In one wallet, they spread their wallets, and maybe also on, even different Litecoin.
Yeah, because I lost a lot of money with Celsius Network, but luckily I had that was the first thing I teach anybody when I'm teaching about Bitcoin and crypto is decentralize your funds, right? Like don't just have one hot wallet and it's all in there like that. Don't ever do that, right? Like old storage wallets, have hot wallets, because I mean you are gonna, if you are somebody who's experimenting, you are gonna go play with Kraken, right? Like that's my new favorite exchange. Like they don't give me any money, but I just like them, right? Oh yeah, it reminds me, they have this thing right now. I can only give 5 away, right? I put up my link. It's no BS. They're giving away $125 worth of Bitcoin. Like they're only doing it 5 per customer. But Kraken clearly made a lot of money on some of those dips, right? They're like, Merry Christmas. But if you click on that link, that's no BS. I read the details on it. They're like, you sign up for, oh yeah, there it is. If you sign up for, I don't get anything. You get $125 worth of BTC. I'm pretty sure I don't get anything out of the deal, right? But it's legitimate. I literally says that in 14 days, they review, you got to basically set up a Kraken account, of course. And once your Kraken account set up, in 14 days, you get the 125 worth of Bitcoin. And I was like, there's no way they can do this for like unlimited people. And then I looked in the app the other day, it was like 0 of 5. And I was like, okay, 5, like, what's that? Like,
yeah.
5 times.
I mean, a lot of these exchanges, they make these. I think I forgot which one it was, but some of these Asian exchanges, they say like you can win like $1,000 if you create a wallet or an account here, and then you sort of
or they say we'll give you 1,000 Bitcoin, and you're like, yeah, okay, no.
Yeah. No, but and then you sort of look at the small print, and then it's sort of you have to do this and you have to do that, and then eventually you get like $30 or less, like $10 or something. But yeah, eventually,
over the last 10 years, even these major exchanges, when they do give Bitcoin for signing up, to always like $20 to $30. Yeah, that's about it. The max maybe been like 100 when it was like sub 20K, right? Yeah. But Kraken's giving away like, for me, I guess it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 500. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was another 125. So $625 per Kraken customer. So you know, somebody who has a Kraken account, I'll be like, hey, send me one of those invites, because why wouldn't you take it? Because you could just literally wait the 14 days. Take $100 of the Bitcoin out, keep 25 in there, and you know, play around with it. You know,
and then
do something with it.
I think we already answered this question, but the organized media asked like, but certain actors might want to harm Bitcoin not just for the value of the theft, right? So I think he's, you know, what we just talked about, China, you know, with the gold-backed currency, they might want to discredit Bitcoin, you know, claim that it's unsafe and, you know, uncertain.
And they did that, right? The guy, the clip from, I guess it was like 2019, is like, if Bitcoin becomes a standard, everyone will die. And you're like, what, bro? Okay, well, guess what? It's becoming the standard. We're all still here, bro. What happened? Your theory, there you go. Your theory was disproven pretty rapidly, bro. And that was the point, right? Where, you know, a lot of people in the space, the smart people in the space, from top to bottom, myself included, were like, you guys are making the biggest like economic error in the history of economic errors, right? And Singapore followed suit, right? Like there was that picture going around like from a few weeks ago of them, like, you know, getting the steamrollers out and rolling all over those ASICs, and it's like, what are you guys doing?
I think it was Malaysia.
Malaysia. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Malaysia, not Indonesia, or Singapore rather. But yeah, again, these are countries that are going to rue the day that they did these things. It's you're banning yourself, right? This report came out from Sweden, right? You can only ban yourself from Bitcoin. You can't ban anyone else from Bitcoin. And it's so pervasive now that when anyone says it, I just laugh in their face. Oh, the government will stop it. I'm like, it's laughable. It's like, yeah, you're going to stop air too, bro. Is that where you're going to stop? You're going to stop people breathing next? Good luck with that one.
And then Daniel Batten, he pointed out like that Bhutan, you know, Bhutan is like El Salvador, is sort of like the Asian cousin of El Salvador. Like it's like at the forefront of Bitcoin.
They're not stupid, man. They get it.
And they are what was it? They are making basically when with COVID hit and their industry, the tourist industry, sort of collapsed because no tourism was coming to Bhutan anymore because nobody, you know, everybody was locked in and, you know, and broke. Basically, Bitcoin saved their economy during that crash, even though the IMF said, like, you know, don't adopt it, you know, you will, you know,
it's going to hurt you.
It will hurt you. And then it turns out they're building a new airport with the profits. They're giving all their government employees like a 50% raise.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Bitcoin's horrible.
They actually also are going to build a mindfulness resort, like a very luxurious, I think the biggest in the world, you know, with Bitcoin profits. Because they don't do GDP, but a happiness index, right? So I think their happiness index just, you know, shot through the moon.
Oh yeah, it's following the Bitcoin chart, bro, for realsies. I mean, this is just, again, just proving everything we talk about, everything Daniel Battens talks about, right? We're kind of, like we said, on that same wavelength where we realize like all the energy companies in the world, once they figure out they can make money off of their excess reserve energy, which if it's hydroelectric, wind, the oil, gas industry, literally every sector, it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do this, right? Why wouldn't you be making money on all this wasted energy? There you go. 10,000 Bitcoin worth $1 billion to fund a mindfulness city. And this is because they've taken their excess reserve power and they've strapped into the most powerful protocol in the world, right? And this will, again, continue to happen. Like we know the UAE, Saudi Aramco, all of these Middle Eastern countries that have huge solar farms, huge wind farms, huge oil and gas infrastructure. They have tons of methane flare. They will do the same thing with all of their energy sectors. And what happens? Bitcoin network gets stronger and stronger, and those in that video, he was like 5 billion. Let's get back to the hash rate chart, right? This is one of my favorite things, like to pull up to show people. It's like, oh yeah, we're not there anymore. Here's where we are, right?
There we go.
This is where we're at now, right? Let's get down to the nitty gritty. We're at zettahash, right? 1/6 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 zeros per second. That's how many hashes are running per second. Yeah, so when people are like, I'm gonna hack Bitcoin, I'm like, no, bro. No, you're not. You don't even know one line of code. Please sit down, right? Like, it's not happening.
And then, okay, wait. There was also somebody, I love Luke Groman. Actually, I think he's a very smart guy.
Again, Luke, what happened to you, bro?
Yeah.
You're proving you're a boomer in your techno savviness, bro. Like,
yeah, but
I'm just saying,
I think
it's proving you don't have to be 70 and up to be a boomer.
I think he was Matty from TFTC. He sort of did a rebuke of Luke Groman, but I think Luke Groman was influenced by Ray Dalio, because I think Ray Dalio started talking about the quantum threat out there, and that.
Ray is a boomer and doesn't know anything about Bitcoin. He just knows that I'd be stupid not to hold it now because every bank in the world's about to sell it. Like, duh. But let's also again, when I tell people metrics are important. Let's just look at Litecoin's hash rate, right? Like, it just hit a new all-time high just like a couple weeks ago, right? Like, yeah, there it is. Look at that, December 6th, 3.94 petahashes. And now let's we didn't go over every hash zone, but look at a petahash, 1 quadrillion hashes a second. So when people say nobody's using Litecoin, I'm like, okay, you need to take a couple steps back. Let's learn some computer science, right? Yes, lots of people are using Litecoin, clearly. That's like 1 quadrillion hashes per second. Somebody's using it.
I think what you sort of said, boomers, but the general public, I think 90% or maybe even 95% of the public, they have no idea what all of this means, right? They have no idea. Like the video explained, how many galaxies you would need to basically hack Bitcoin with current
to actually
means.
Get to a key, to get, or actually to guess, to get the correct hash,
because these numbers are just sort of mind-boggling, right?
They're so massive. It's like, how is that even possible?
So they think okay, it's like your computer, and your computer can get hacked, so everything digital can get hacked. I'll buy gold, right? So that's sort of the logic.
That is, and then again, there is no fallacy to that logic. That's very, that, like we said, if all things break down and we have some broadband event, that's literally, people will trade silver and gold for goods and services. That's just facts. But the Bitcoiners of the world will still figure out how to be in Bitcoin transactions, because remember, Bitcoin has satellites running in the nodes, right? We got satellites running the ledger, and more and more. I mean, let's be very clear. I'm pretty sure Blockstream and other companies, and SpaceX will be one of those companies that will be putting the ledger in space some more. Makes it more decentralized, makes it more secure. Now everyone's on board with my solar bases in space and data centers in space, because of, guess what? Oh, it's a negative 273. Duh. You don't need to keep all this air conditioning units in there. It stays cool because it's space.
And places like Greenland, and some very cold places on planet Earth.
Oh yeah,
But,
I mean,
and you got like
Iceland-
solar. You can get solar energy all the time from the sun. And talking about the sun, right? So I think I agree with you that quantum is not the big threat for Bitcoin. I think AI is also not per se a big threat for Bitcoin. But what about solar storms, right? Because the sun is turning more active by the day. And so how do you see, because a lot of people are saying like, yeah, but what about solar storms? Like, what would you answer to those people?
And again, this makes Bitcoin superior to like all the other digital assets that are out there, right? And any proof of work chain, right? If we do have some type of event, and this why Bitcoin's at the top, I'm pretty sure those satellites are hardened for EMF. They've got some type of Faraday cage built in there, right, to protect. I mean, Coinbase does this standard for their like big clients, right? They make sure they can't be EMP attacked or anything like that. And but again, this is what makes Bitcoin superior. If we do have some type of massive solar flare and we do have another either power or broadband event, everything gets wiped out. Like it goes erased, right? Like there's not like all those servers, they go down and they're not like, there's no backup to the backups, right? Like there's not a third backup in the chain, right? So all of that, equities, bonds, securities, all that, all the ETFs, poof, gone. Bitcoin, Litecoin, anything that's proof of work, when the power comes back on, especially Bitcoin, and I would venture Litecoin as well, all the UTXOs are still written into the chain. So the chain just was offline. That's all.
But then people would say, okay, but during the blackout, you can only use gold and silver, and you can't use Bitcoin to transact, or
Well, again,
blah, blah,
it depends like how far, how huge of a massive power fluctuations we have, right? Like, do we have complete no power? Then yeah, at that point, it's not looking good for nobody. Right.
Yeah, that would also be my answer, right? I mean, gold and money wouldn't be at the top of your list to worry about.
Yeah, like you're looking for water and food at that point. You're not like, oh, how much gold and silver do I have now? You're like, water, food, bullets.
and then even if you do have gold, right, you might actually get killed because you own gold and silver.
Yeah, because
right?
people like see you're hoarding gold and they're like, we want your gold. And those people are just as dumb as the people that hoarded all the gold. You should be looking for water and food and learning how to build shelters, right? Like I know how to build water purification systems, not massive ones, but I can build ones for, like 5 or 10 people to like take river water and clean it. Do you know how to do stuff like that? I tell people, they're like, no. It's like, yeah, well, you better read some books. Because those kinds of life skills sets, if those events happen, guess what? You become super duper valuable, right? People are like, no, you don't kill that guy. That guy knows lots of stuff. And again, you are at the top of the food chain, like instantly, because you know stuff that 99% of the public has no clue about. And I know there's people that have skill sets that I don't have, right? Like I don't know how to make bullets. There's people that know how to make their own bullets, right? Like those people, they're boom. If that kind of stuff happens, they're right at the top of the food chain. People that know how to clean water, people that know how to make weapons, right? I know how to make weapons and build shelters. That's why I tell people I have experience in survival, shelter building, and stuff like that.
Make yourself indispensable by Bitcoin.
And that's what eventually happens. If you get enough Bitcoin, you're like, I'm going to build my citadel, right? Out in the middle of nowhere and live off the land, right? That's like every Bitcoin maxie's dream, right? And
but to come back to the silver, right? The reason that silver spiked is basically because there's so much industrial demand coming from robotics and AI. At least that's my take, that they can't keep up.
Because you can't use gold anymore, right? Gold's now like nobody's using gold. Like, let's be clear. It's unless like artwork or jewelry, nobody's putting gold in electronics, because now your receiver goes from being $3,000 to $10,000. It's like, I can't sell this receiver anymore. Right? I can't sell this computer anymore because it's literally just the quarter of an ounce of gold in there makes the price of the retail go up literally $1,000 extra. It makes no sense. So yeah,
do you think? So what you're saying is actually that silver went up because gold went up, and then gold can't be used anymore as in industry, so silver has to make up the difference. Is that okay?
Yeah,
okay, because I was sort of reading it the other way around. So if silver sort of spikes,
if you're AMD,
doesn't gold have to go down?
Yeah, if you're any one of these companies that they build circuits or build chips or build any types of computer, you have to buy the gold. Like, why would you keep using a product that keeps going up when silver has almost the same identical properties when it comes to conductivity, et cetera, down the list, and it costs like literally 400x less. Like, it's a no-brainer. And again, if silver hits a certain price point, it becomes another precious metal if they have come across it in the universe, whatever that metal might be. But right now, it does look like it's silver because, gold, palladium, all these other precious metals, they're just becoming more in demand, and there's too much speculation in those markets. So again, I'm of the opinion that they keep finding more because the price goes up, they mine more, they find more. That's just how it's going to happen. Is the price going to keep going up for gold? My opinion, I think we're forming a double top, and no. Other people like Peter Schiff will say it's going to 10,000. I don't see that happening. I just don't, unless we have like a major, horrible events happen. And I don't like talking those things. But if those things happen, gold goes to 100K an ounce. Duh. But that's for like what? Maybe a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. And then it's like, no one cares about those things like we discussed. The people care about, do I have water? Do I have food? Do I have shelter? And can I defend against the crazy people that are just going to be like, now it's, pure anarchy and I'll do whatever I want, where there's always going to be a cadre, of the society that feels that way, right? It's probably going to be like a 70-30 or 80-20 split, but there's going to be a huge portion of society that's like, it's 10 days, let's go crazy. And a lot of people are not. So it's like, at that point, is gold worth anything? No, I think that's when gold and everything possibly goes to zero at that point. But if you can still get a generator on and we still do have mobile towers functioning, Bitcoin can still be used. Litecoin can still be used. And this is another reason I've been saying for years, we need to open up the mesh networks, because if we open up the mesh networks, then it doesn't matter, right? Because as long as you can get a generator and power up your phone, then we can still do peer-to-peer Bluetooth transactions, just like BitChat. That's why BitChat has saved Jamaica, right? It saved, what was it, Nepal. It saved Madagascar, right? I'm pretty sure it helped in Madagascar too, if I'm not mistaken.
The humour revolutions.
It's proving my point that we need to have these Bluetooth mesh nets unlocked for security purposes, right? Like, if there's a tsunami, if there's earthquakes, if we have an attack, right? Funnily enough, I'm at the mountaintop. Who's the only other person that's like at the mountaintop with me? Dick Wolf. Guess what FBI was about this week? Oh, these American-born terrorists attack a broadband center and they shut down the internet in New York, like almost those people did in FBI when they had all those fake SIM cards launched, right? And the FBI caught those people. Well, guess what? Dick Wolf read about that and he was like, holy moly, if the internet or the mobile net gets attacked, it would create chaos, and that's what the whole episode was about. And it was like, whoa. So Dick Wolf's paying attention. Are you paying attention? Right? That's why bit chat. All right. That's so getting to the point where you were saying, if we get to a point where there's zero power, yeah, there's lots of moves about that, right? But I don't think that's ever a possibility, just because, you know, the way technology works and the way things can be shielded, right? Like, you could be behind a mountain range, and if this solar flare comes at this angle, all of that energy could be absorbed by that mountain range that you live nearby, and that whole town could be fully operational as long as they've got, you know, a hydro power a facility nearby, and it's tied into a substation, and it's all looped in. They could be cool, right? Like, I just know that that's how energy pulses work, right? Like, not everything's going to get zapped out. And as long as you could charge up your phone and you got chat, guess what? Bitcoin's still working in the, you know, in the neo dark ages, right? Because Jack Dorsey's a smart dude and built a product that helps protect us from even your government getting too big for its britches.
And I think also, you know, with the gold-backed cryptocurrency, that cryptocurrency better also be quantum proof, because otherwise that whole plan falls apart, right?
Well, again, we talked about gold-backed coins. Australia's tried it. Several other countries have tried this. It never works, because the people who are interested in gold don't know what Ethereum is, don't know what an ERC20 is, don't know how to even get near all of that. That's just like I'm speaking Latin to them, right? Like, what? What's an ERC20?
Well, yeah, maybe China knows, right? China is pretty advanced, you know, with robots.
Yeah, probably. But what are they doing? They built a digital yuan. They didn't build digital gold. Because why do I always say, what's the biggest flaw to like making tokenized gold? Oh, now it's on an open ledger and we can take inventory anytime we want. Oh no, we don't like that, because then you know how much gold we actually do or don't have. And that's my favorite thing about China, is they're right. This is the one thing I always warn people buying gold is, if it's got any, I don't mean to diss China, but if it's Asian characters, you better be careful, because how many videos do we have online of somebody's bought wrapped tungsten, they've bought wrapped whatever type of heavy metal, and it's not gold, right? And you're getting scammed.
But you can even see it like with economics, right? Because China is sort of, it took a page from America, like how America ran the world for the past 50 years. And then they did the same thing, only on turbocharger mode. Like, you know, they basically did exactly the same thing the West did, only like way worse. And so like what you say, like China is very good at taking ideas and then taking them to the next level.
Oh yeah, and let's be very clear. And when people, you see these videos, when people saying, you know, they're going to create these CBDCs that can limit your actions, this isn't science fiction, right? This is already happening in China. There was a whole bunch of Chinese citizens in 2023 that were going to go protest because the banks were collapsing, and the government found out by having access to their WeChats, and guess what? They shut off all of their passes for the rail system, and they couldn't travel for like 10 days until they let them calm down. And then they're like, oh, you're all calm now. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And then they turned all their passes back on. So it's like, this isn't science fiction. China is already doing it to its citizens, right? And they do this on a daily. We showed the videos a couple episodes ago where, you know, China's not the only ones doing this now. Vietnam is locked somewhere between 60 to 80 million of their citizens out of their bank accounts because they won't give up biometric data. And I've said to this many, many times, you should want to we do need to figure out digital identity, but it should be in a decentralized manner, so it's much safer and much more secure, right? So if there is a central point of failure, no one can just scoop up all of these digital IDs, right? Like that's the whole point. If we make it centralized, then it's just going to be another honeypot for hackers to want to attack.
Yeah, and it will be abused.
80 million people don't have money now in Vietnam.
Yeah.
They're living in homelessness because the future is going like this. And I get it. I understand why these people are skeptical, because they don't want to be shut out, but at the same time they were shut out, right? Like, and that's the worst part of it all. They were trying to buck the system and take a bold stance against, you know, being forced into this new type of technology, which I understand and I agree. You should have a right to transact how you should feel. If you still want to use paper money, that should be your option, and that shouldn't be off the table anytime soon, right? Like I'm not a fan of paper money. You know this. Everybody knows this. I'm not a fan of paper money, but it's still a tool and it still works, right? In many markets, paper money still works, right? And like I said, again, cutting these people off completely is inhumane. It violates their human rights. And Bitcoin really does fix this. I think once these 80 million people, I know not all 80 million are going to dust themselves off like in 2 days and figure this out, but I know a big cadre of them are going to, and they will figure out Bitcoin, and they will figure out Litecoin and all these other products and protocols out there that can make their banking life easy, because Vietnam is one of the bigger markets for crypto in the world. And that's another thing nobody's talking about. This is like the sleeping dragon right now when it comes to Southeast Asia, is that we have close to 100 million people that when just a couple, like 5 to 10% of them figure out, we don't need these guys anymore, what do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin?
Yeah. And the same thing actually happened in Thailand. They did the same thing as Vietnam, only I think a little bit less. You know, it was not like 80 million, but like 10 million or something. That they
it's still a lot of people.
It's still a lot of people, yeah, or 20 million. I forgot, but you know, yeah, these people will wake up to the abuse the system allows.
I mean,
for.
if you add up the people in Vietnam, right, the people in Thailand, the people in China that can be turned on or turned off at any moment, you're talking like 1/10 of a billion people. Like this is a major issue right now. Nobody in the media is talking about, right? Like we're talking about 1/10 of a billion people can have their finances shut down anytime. And guess what? Not just shut down anytime. A huge portion of them have been totally banned from doing financial transactions, right? 100%. And this is not only, like I just said, a violation of their human rights. This is why we have to talk about the digital Bill of Rights. And this is number one, is the freedom to transact openly and anytime I want to. And again, why do, the billionaires and the millionaires of the world, they can buy whatever they want. No one bats an eye. You go to the bank in many parts of the world right now, whether it's the UK, Australia, Europe, the United States, and you ask for like over $10,000 cash, they'll be like, what do you need it for? It's none of your damn business.
Yeah.
It's none of your damn business.
No, absolutely. And then I think in one of our previous episodes, I think it was Fry or somebody else, but there was this discussion about privacy coins and should they be allowed because it gives maybe too much privacy to people. But we've been running societies on cash forever, and it went fine, right? And cash was perfectly private for a very long time.
You could still put those gold coins somewhere, right? Like, and they could be safe, and that was done for silver and gold and even copper coins for hundreds, if not like probably like 1,000 years of history. All of those were good forms of money until you wanted to scale your business. As soon as you wanted to scale your business, it's like, whoa, I can move all this heavy stuff with me to every spot I go. It's just like, add my goods and my security. Now I need security not only for my goods, I need security for my money, right? Like that's why paper money came about. And I think it was like, I want to say 800 years ago, Genghis Khan, I think the first one ever was it was like deer hide, and they just like did fancy pictures on the deer hide, and then eventually it got reduced into like paper notes within like 50 years of that first deer skin, because they were like, it just made no sense to keep handing like all of this tons of like gold or silver, bronze for the wedding party or for whatever, if it was some type of,
I think it was the Ming Dynasty, yeah. And they had like a huge, they also had like a huge area, right? So paper money makes a lot of sense if you have like a world empire. They were, after the British, they had the biggest empire in the world.
There's an amazing special on, I think it's either Hulu, I think it's on Nat Geo, on the secret. I think they call it. I think it's called. Oh, of course, right now, I'm losing the internet. There we go. I think it's The Secret History of Empire, and it was phenomenal. Highly recommend a history nerdazoid like me. Totally worth watching. But yeah, let's wrap it up. Yes, no, Bitcoin won't be hacked by quantum computers anytime soon. I even did a little Q&A session yesterday with ChatGPT, and she was kind of in concurrent with me that it's 20 to 30 years off before we can even get close to hacking a 128-bit encrypted key, let alone a 256-bit encrypted key, right? As you saw through the video we showed, literally it's like 4 billion factor. What is it? 4 billion times 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 4 billion times. It's like a vastly huge ass number, right? And the computational power just alone to have with just these non-quantum supercomputers, right, is unfathomable. So again, until we get to a processor, a quantum processor, that can run all the time, right, or 24/7, because that's what it would need, right? Let's be very clear. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to turn on, it's going to roll back the code in like 10 seconds. Like, no, it's not happening. It has to run full time. B, it has to, at least in my opinion, have somewhere near 1 million qubits processor that can run stably at hopefully room temperature, which they supposedly can do by splitting these lasers, which is pretty cool stuff. Read the article. Yep. I will give you that article. 3, it can't just be on for a second, right? Like, it's got to run for 24/7. It's got to get up to like 1 million qubits. And what's the other thing? And you still have to have like a bunch of those to even get close to what you want to do.
True. And then even if you can, there would be much more interesting targets.
Like the one we saw from Italy, right? First ICM one. It's a 5-qubit processor. We read that article a couple weeks ago. They, I think, said they decrypted it was a 2-bit key. I was like,
yeah.
What? Like, no one cares. Like, that's like 100x off of where we're talking about. And the people like Luke Groman and all these people, they're being alarming in technology. I'm sorry. They just don't. If Samson Mao is agreeing with me and Adam Back is agreeing with me, who do you think's right on this issue? The top cryptographers in the world? I mean, I'm not that smart, but I'm a pretty smart dude. Or those that know nothing about Bitcoin. And that's how we're going to end the show.
I'm now going to try.
Thank you to my co-host.
It was a pleasure.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.